This Hillsong church, for some people it might be, or the mega church, that holds a lot of real estate in your life. What if that wasn't the case? What if you held the real estate?
I want reconciliation. I miss my friend. I miss the teams. I miss the people. Like I still laugh today about the moments we had in New York. The thing that people don't tell you when church hurt happens is it's like a tsunami of sorts that wipes out everything. And what I'm saying is, wait, hold on, like experience the pain, experience the hurt, feel it, be okay with the sadness and the hurt and the pain and the frustration, because it's real. The nights I spent crying and weeping and agony and trauma and like grief, like far out, like that's real, like, and anger and frustration and you can build on that. Yeah. But it might not serve your future.
Lights On is sponsored by BetterHelp. It's okay to struggle. Real strength comes from opening up about what you're carrying and doing something about it, so you can be at your best for yourself and for the people in your life that you love. Therapy is not just about trauma. It's about learning positive coping skills and how to set boundaries in your life that create new freedom. With over 35,000 therapists, BetterHelp is the world's largest online therapy platform, having served over 5 million people. And it works too, with an App Store rating of 4.9 based on over 1.7 million client reviews. And it's convenient. You can join a session with a therapist at the click of a button, helping you fit therapy into your busy life. Plus, you can switch therapy and therapists at any time. As the largest online therapy provider in the world, BetterHelp can provide access to mental health professionals with a variety of expertise. So talk it out with BetterHelp. So our listeners get 10% off of their first month at BetterHelp.com/lightson. That's BetterHelp.com/lightson. Welcome to Lights On. Before you jump into this episode, I wanted to give even more context for how special this was for me. And to be honest, we almost didn't use it. I almost didn't want to use it because what has gone into a relationship like I have with Andrew, it can't be summed up. It can't be given adequate context. And the day before we filmed this conversation, Andrew and I talked for hours, and we had a really deep conversation. We both realized you can't record this, you can't duplicate this. So whatever the combo is going to be on the pod, it won't be this. And we were laughing about how the truth is there isn't enough context that can be given when it comes to a moment like this. And what it really represents is, forgiveness does not mean friendship. When you've been wronged by somebody genuinely, regardless of whether they've owned it or not, to forgive somebody does not mean that also now means you have to have a relationship with somebody at all. Forgiveness is about a release. And so for Andrew to come as far as he has to open up his heart to even have a relationship, and on my end to be able to put my own life in a position to be able to be healthy, to have a relationship with a friend from a different chapter, it is special. And so if you've ever dealt with a relational breakdown due to your actions or otherwise, this will speak to the fact that there's no playbook, but the work remains. If you're working on yourself and you're willing to be open and you're willing to grow, just never know what the future holds. None of us set out, Andrew, I can speak for him on this, we didn't set out to have a great relationship moving forward. No, both of us have had to do our own work in different ways. He was on the backside of the Hillsong explosion. I was on the other side of it. And it had an impact on a lot of people, including people like Andrew, who has been a part of our family for a very, very long time. And the impact on him was severe. And we talk about a lot of it, but I just wanted to give further context. So this is me, instead of not playing it, it's me overemphasizing why it matters so much. And for those of you who are new to the whole story, this is a special thing to be able to sit across from somebody who was in the engine room of something that went really bad towards the end, yet God can redeem anything. So know that going in, this is a conversation that is special to both of us, and I hope you get something out of it. Just be thinking as you're listening. Anything's possible if people are willing to work. So enjoy. Lights on. Lights on. Thank you for being with us, my esteemed wife, Roberto Duran.
Yeah, still crushing it.
Still crushing it.
I think I've got a couple more days with the black eye. We're nearly done.
We have something awesome for you today. We're going to talk about healing. If there's one thing every human can actually agree on in this world is that we got to get better at healing. And we have the privilege of having a dear friend of ours, a family friend, a brother to me, Andrew Simila, on Lights On. It's so good to see you. It's so good to have you. I've missed you. I love you. Getting to know you again has been a real joy, a real privilege. You're a household legend around here. We were just talking about all the stories that include you in our children's memories. But let me just give everybody who needs context for where we're headed with this. We have a very incredible history together. Yeah. And started, a long time ago. Saw you at a bonfire. Long story short, ends up in New York City. You become a vital part of our Hillsong New York City team, the lifeblood, the engine room of everything. You became like the ultimate Swiss Army knife of a human being. Whatever we needed, whenever we needed it, and you did it with excellence. And that led to you continuing to kind of rise in your own influence and your ability and your gifting. And then you eventually left us in New York to take on Hillsong Orange County. Correct. Where you and your amazing family got planted. And then as life happens, things have changed. And we have found ourselves in a new chapter of relationship, which in and of itself is a miracle, because when there are hugely traumatic, significant upheavals, sometimes, relationships are the biggest casualty. So I don't take a granted for a second that I even, get to know you in this chapter, and I love you, and it's great to have you. How are you feeling?
Thank you. Well, yeah, it's a new thing to be here in this space, and it's an honor. So I appreciate it. And I think, the story is that we're still talking. Yeah, I think that's huge. And the journey that we're gonna maybe potentially take people on in this conversation will kind of get to this point where this is the evidence, or the physical evidence in the universe that like restoration, healing, forgiveness, all that stuff is possible. And I think that's the ultimate story. It's like the story is not of what is necessarily right or wrong or good or bad. Like the story is that even in the chaos and in the mess, that ultimately God's at work and He's faithful. And if we're willing to sit in it long enough, trust the process, lift the weight, and have the hard conversations and do the heavy lifting, then we can get to places like this, places that we never thought were possible in the midst of it all. And that, like being in your world again and having this conversation is like, that's the proof in the pudding, one would say. So yeah.
Yeah. Lights On is partnering with plana.org. It's a phenomenal organization that is built to empower women who have faced with all kinds of unexpected circumstances, especially when it comes to pregnancy. And they offer support, they offer tools, they offer community. And if you wanted to know how can I immediately help somebody who really needs it, check out plana.org today. We love them. You will too. And you can make a difference in the life of somebody today just by checking them out. Plana.org. We love y'all.
I'm so pumped that you're here, because it's been 5, I don't even know how many years since we've seen you. Probably 5 years, because it was when Mickey was a baby.
Yeah.
But what are some of your greatest memories, or one, from our time in New York?
Yeah, I think like New York was in itself, being in New York City is awesome. At that age and stage, I wasn't married. We were young. Still young, but yeah, I think it's cool. Like, so New York holds its own. That's just a cool place to be. Ministry, seeing what God can do in and through your life, loving Jesus, preaching the gospel, making an impact, seeing the lost get saved, that holds its own. So no matter where you do that in the world, but when you bring these two things together, the gas and the light and the match kind of vibe, to be a part of that, and to see what God did and to have a hand in that was epic. Maybe it wasn't like a specific moment, but it was just the life that we were living in that season of just, there was a bit of like, rogue kind of vibe, like just learning, like people would say, building the plane in the air while it's flying. Oh, so yeah. There was a lot of that fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I think there was a lot of relationships. I think our staff and team did such an epic job of like creating a fun environment, holding things lightly, taking big swings. But one of my favorite moments in New York was getting married. That was cool.
Yeah.
You officiated my wedding.
We did.
That was a fun.
It was rad.
Right?
Yeah.
It was so fun.
Yeah, and what's hilarious is, we had it in the back of that restaurant in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
You showed up on time. That was a surprise to me. Like,
You jerk.
I didn't know if Carl was going to be there or not.
It was a different time. I had a different time value
Yeah.
than I do now.
So Michaela and I were standing there. We didn't know, but the good news is we were getting married regardless. But yeah, in the back of that cafe and that venue, and then finding out the night before our wedding that we're not allowed to do the reception at that venue because of noise cancellation. So a friend of ours was able to come through and
Gotta love it.
open up an opportunity at the Soho Grand for us to do that. So I have a ton of stories of New York that we could unpack, but I think it's just overall essence of being able to be at the helm of something that's never happened before with some of the most epic humans. Like they love you, they're going to hug you, but they might kill you type of vibe.
Yeah.
That it created this really fun, awesome opportunity. Yeah, that mattered a ton.
Well said. One of the conversations I had with you was the one of the most pivotal moments of my entire life. And I have a lot of people to thank for helping me make sense of what I was feeling and doing and thinking off the backside of what happened with our situation. And I was telling somebody the other day, if I had a couple things to point, one of those major ones was a conversation I had with you. And we got on the phone. We had not talked in a long time.
Year and a half.
And this is a year and a half post Hillsong explosion.
Yeah.
And I had really bad experiences thus far reconnecting with people. It either would be crushing, it would be sad, it would just be, I was getting to a place, I knew when I was talking to you right before that, I knew where my trajectory was headed, and it was a little bit of bitterness, defiance, and hope mixed in. That was going to be my road. I'm almost positive.
Yeah.
We get on the phone, and we had this conversation. And about midway through, I believe I stopped and said to you, like, bro, what have you been doing?
Yeah.
Because you don't sound like the same person. Like, I feel more healthy talking to you. And I got off that call shocked because I felt challenged, convicted, loved, heard, accountable, accepted, challenged again, and then challenged. And I got off the phone. I told Laura, I said, I don't know what Andrew's doing, but he's doing stuff that other people aren't doing. I want to know. And it led us to another conversation where you pointed me to some of the people that have helped shape, this version of you. And it's been so pivotal in my life. And I think that conversation to me is one that I hope everybody can have, where you talk to someone who is flourishing in areas you're not, and it doesn't make you shrink. It makes you step in. Because I'm like, there's sometimes when you talk to healthy people or unhealthy people, depending on where you're at, it can be like a barrier. But I talk to you, and I just said, I want to be like that. I want to figure out what you're doing. You remember that conversation?
Yeah, I remember I was sitting in my car in Orange County in a parking lot outside of a cafe. And the conversation was a long time coming, like a year and a half of non-responding to text messages on my end. I needed time for me to do my thing. But it was eventually a bridge I'm going to cross. I know I'm going to do it. And not that I have to from a disempowered way, but like this is a part of my story kind of thing. Like I'm going to have to cross this bridge in order to get to where I believe God's called us to go. And so, yeah, I remember that combo for sure, like it was yesterday. The lead up to that was, hey, I'm on it with Carl. On it, there's the bitterness, there's resentment, there's unforgiveness, there's hurt, there's pain, there's sadness. And that was real. And I wasn't ready to have that combo because I didn't want to have it from that context. I really wanted to come to that conversation from an empowered place, sure of who I am and what I'm created to do, and healed and brave. Like I wanted to be courageous in that combo. And so I had been I've been through the process of healing and restoration. I did some work. So the way that conversation came about was I went to this coaching training in LA through Gap Community. Shout out Jean Marie Jobs and Nathan Neighbor. And I went to, it's called Awaken. And I went to Awaken, and it radically revolutionized how I view the stuff we went through. So I was in that training, and there was this moment where I was disempowered, and I was telling the story of Carl and Laura and Hillsong and all that. And I was just, I was just kind of verbal vomiting over everything and having that like very victim kind of conversation. This happened to me, and F this, and and I was standing in the middle of the training room, and Nathan Neighbor kind of freezes me in that moment and starts to coach me through that and asks me the question, so what part did you have to play in that? And it was like the start of a conversation of understanding my part to that, and what I tolerated or allowed, and that was the beginning of the journey. So in that training, there was a really cool assignment that they give you at the end of the day. It's it's an all-day training, and then they send you home with homework. And part of the homework was you need to create a list of all the people that you're on it with. They use that term, like if you're on it with someone,
right.
What would it look like to get off it with that person? So whether it was with my dad, or or a business partner, or whatever context, or whatever someone might be on it, but you were the person that was on the very top of the list. And then you come back the next day, and they say to you, all right, so we're going to do some work around that. And then eventually, when you, the assignment there is you need to go and get off it with that person.
Yeah.
And so I didn't pick you to do it while I was at that training, but I knew it was something I needed to do. And so I remember having that convo to get off it with you. Yeah.
It's so cool.
I think, it's when I talk to people now, and we know this from the work that we have been doing, you can talk to some people, and we've had this convo where you look at somebody and you realize they haven't moved an inch. They're like cement, and your heart goes out to it, and you realize like there's nothing I can do about that side of the tracks. But you look at other people where they're not just surviving, they're like thriving. You have not let the Hillsong Church experience that you had with that church, the experience you had with me, the parts that were painful and damaging and hurtful, none of that's defined you. You've used it to push you into this amazing space where people see your life and they're like, what the frick is up with this dude and his ridiculously good-looking kids, and they just live this life that looks full. I'm sure you have your moments like everybody else, but how have you grabbed this road of healing and just ran with it? Like, because not everybody's doing it, and it is a clear choice to be made. But what does that look like for you?
Yeah. So like when all of that went down with Hillsong, it was a defining moment, and I sat in a lot of that hurt, and that pain is real, and that impact that it had on me, and it was an absolute mess of sorts. What do you do with your life when what you thought you're going to do doesn't work out? And you're just like a tornado went through your town and ripped everything out from the roots, and you just you're just sitting there. And so the default is bitterness, resentment, blame shifting, and all that. And I sat in that for a while. I got to that place where I could pretty well tell a story that made everyone else the problem, made everyone else the person to blame, or the people to blame, or the organization to blame. But I sat in that space long enough, and then I had to make a choice. It came down to, the question was, I think it was like, I don't want the last 15 years of my life to dictate essentially the next 40 years of my life. Like, that was a pivotal moment.
Yeah.
I made a decision that I was going to work on me.
Yeah. That's all that needs to be said on that, because that's exactly what I would look at and go, that's the difference. When people go, I'm going to work on me over whatever they think the situation represented. Tell me this. So you are a lifelong ministry guy. You're pastoring a church in Orange County, California, everything blows up.
Yeah.
And now you don't know what to do. Like,
Yeah.
how did other churches receive you? What was that like? What did that feel like on the other side of it? Because that's a bit of you we don't know, but you're coming out of the smoldering, radioactive Hillsong Church, and you try to think. Did you think about ministry again? Did you think about like what was your frame moving into that season?
Yeah, that was fun. I was like, let's go do the same thing we've been doing.
Right.
Let's go apply for more churches and roles. And I was on Indeed. There was a moment where I'm on Indeed looking at janitor jobs. Like, I don't know what to do. So when we talk about the impact that certain choices, we talk about the impact that other people's choices made on me. It was hurtful. It was painful. It was sad. It was agonizing. I was sitting on my couch with my 3 kids, having no income, trying to figure out what I'm going to do in my life. So the human default is to just go back to what you were doing, try to figure it out. And I was looking at janitor jobs. I was trying to figure out how to cover our expenses for my family. And then I started to apply for churches because I was like, I've got this gift and this, this vibe, this talent, whatever, and I'm going to go and I'm going to apply for churches. And so I think that was just like, I'm looking on churchhire.com or something, like Arizona sounds cool, said no one ever, right? Or like, just anywhere in America that was hiring for pastors. Yeah. And so I started to like try to get into interviews, and it was crazy because I did 9 rounds of interviews with like a really big church in the area that I was living in, and it was it was like, I know I can do the job role and the task, but I was hitting this barrier, this wall. I don't know why, but it was like, I can't get a job to save my life. Like, no one's hiring me. Like, I don't get this. And so it was really bumping up against the, like, I don't know what is actually why. Yeah. Like 9 months. And the story I was telling myself is, well, Hillsong and it's too hot right now, and I was tied to Carl, and I can't. So like they ain't gonna bring me on. Like, everyone's staying away from all of this. No one, they love me, and hey, we wish the best for you, but like, we're good. Like, there's a burning thing here, and we don't want that anywhere near us. And so I was just like, well, F that. Like, this dude has just literally made a decision, and other people made decisions, and now I have to, like, I can't even get a job out here. So it was a very painful time and very confusing time.
Yeah, it would have been.
What do I do with my life now? Like, so then I was like, oh, I got an epic idea. I'm going to start my own church. Sick one. Shout out to Homebody Church. Which is by far the greatest name for a church, undoubtedly. And so I started Homebody, and that lasted for like 1 day. And it was just like, I don't know. I was like, I'm going to start gathering my own people. I'm going to do my own thing. Yeah. And I'm just going to like copy paste everything I know, and we're going to run this play again. And it was like, I don't want to do this. Like, it felt very like I'm on my own, and it's painful. And reaching out to people, hey, would you guys want to donate? Like, what are we talking about?
Well, what's funny to me is what one thing you notice on the other side of stuff like that is before all that happens, like any association to our church, to me, to Brian Houston, people would use it like, they just would throw the name in there because it would get you something more.
Yeah.
The moment it goes bad, it's like people didn't even want to act like, so you just want to suddenly act like this entire global movement that radically changed your life and the lives around you. Now you don't even want to remotely act like it, which is foreign to us. So I can imagine, you on the other side of that, because our DNA at that time, especially, and still to this day, is I don't really care about the fire. Like you, like I mean, if you come out of some bad situation, like, and people judge us for accepting you, that's on them, right? So to step into this world where all of that's gone, and you're on your own, and people are like, oh, that's the Hillsong guy. That guy was affiliated with Carl and Laura, and what that means. It just, that must have been a weird
That's painful
flip.
for sure too.
Yeah.
Like just the impact that like, and that's like what we'd call like the ripple effect or the wake of someone's decisions. Like now all of a sudden, I'm not just able to I can't get this job, but now it's like how I'm associated, I'm grouped in with this Titanic of sorts that's going down, and I can't even find a door out there. So for me, I used to say, and the phrase that I would use to describe what you're talking about is, I used to have an ace in my hands, and now I got a joker.
Right.
So like,
Yeah, good.
What was crazy is with Hillsong, being a part of Hillsong, which we and the church and the team that we worked so hard to build a large Bible-based church, right? Like this is the influence, this is the impact, this is the authority of the space. It was like an ace. Right. The only reason I was getting invited to go speak places. Now I could argue that and go, no, there's a gift on your life. Like God's got a call on your life. There's an anointing. Like there's a grace to that.
Yeah.
But like ultimately people would be like, hey, we want you to come and speak because you're the youth pastor of Hillsong NYC, or hey, you're a part of like, so that was like an ace. Like you could walk in, you had that accessibility, that authority of sorts. And now it's like, oh yeah, we're not even like that game. That card doesn't even play in this game anymore.
Yeah. We're over here playing Uno.
Yeah. You're over here playing Monopoly Wheel.
We don't even accept those.
Which, by the way, it just adds fire.
Yeah.
To the flame
story
of like it's someone else's fault.
Tell me this: people have reached out to you over the years, and we had this. I loved our combo yesterday. Just to sit there and talk with like nothing pressing, was just beautiful. But when people contact you, because health tells its own story. Yeah. Like you can't fake growth, you can't fake health. You can fake a little bit of progress. So progress can be a method, but eventually, if you don't fix things, it's going to show. It's cosmetic change. Surgery does not work in the long haul. So there are people who will go through something, will change a little bit. It's almost like a cosmetic flip, but who they are remains. And conversely, when you're really getting healthy, people can't stay away. So there will be people who have reached out to you, and you were telling me they ask the wrong question every time. So the question they ask is, how are you doing what you're doing? Because so many people came off the back of that scandal, and they were scattered, and they've remained scattered. You reinvented yourself. You have a flourishing, incredible practice. You're a brilliant coach and life curator for people. Brilliant. One of the best I know. You have all these opportunities and revenue streams and ideas, and your life is healthy. And so people will say to you, like, how are you doing it? And you were saying that's the wrong question. So what's the right question?
Yeah. Typically people ask the wrong question because they ask the how question, or what did you do, or how did you do that? When it's actually a who question. The question is actually, who do you need to become in order to do that? And so typically when people are going through a situation in their life where the tornado hits their town metaphorically or literally, they like, how do I rebuild my life? How do I reinvent my life? How do I do a different job? How do I create a new pathway or stream, a revenue, a career? Like how do I, but they're operating out of who they were. And one way to say it is you can't do something you've never done until you become someone you've never been.
Wow.
And so I would try to go and do the thing that I've done, but I'm still the same human.
Right.
And so when I talk to people from our previous seasons, they're asked, they want me to give them the blueprint, and they want me to give them the how to build this thing and how to do this thing. But it would be, without the transformation or without the metamorphosis or without the becoming of someone they've never been. Yeah.
It's powerful, and that's true across the board. Like, it's what do I have to do to earn your trust back is a common thing. A guy in my shoes have to say to your wife, for instance, and that's the wrong question. Like, who do I need to be as a man to create the life that she will feel safe again? That's different than, because I can do some of the how-tos, but if I'm not being and I'm just doing, and so you're being healthy, so you're going to end up doing healthy things. So who do you need to be to not let this Hillsong story become the definition and definer of your life? Who do you need to be? That question, and that's also why people don't change. That's a ton of work. And that's why people are like, well, it's much easier to
it's
do a couple other options, because like for me to be a person that loves my enemies, who do I have to become to like lose the grip of control that somebody has over my life? That takes a lot of work. Little do people know, you start to love the work. Yeah. And that's when stuff starts to shift.
Yeah. Well, it's one way we'll say it in Novus is that the human default is comfort. And what we're hoping to do when we talk with clients or when we talk with people, when I talk with pastors or leaders, what I'm hoping to invite them into is not shaming the comfort. Like comfort's not bad. It's amazing, right? And often I'll say when we shop for mattresses, we shop for comfort, right? And we don't shame it. It's just often that comfort keeps you from creating the life you actually want. And so we help people change out the bullseye, switch out the bullseye from comfort to growth, progress, and challenge. Because comfort, though it's not right or wrong, good or bad, it's not resourceful. So the question is not, is this right or wrong, good or bad? It's, is it serving my vision? Is it resourceful? And typically, one way we'll say it is that the deepest fulfillment in your life comes from growth, progress, and challenge, not comfort. What we would use in the coaching space is like when you're under the bar and you're lifting the weight, that produces and creates a result. And you walking around the gym, being in the gym, doesn't help you grow. It is resourceful. And by the way, if you're like, hey man, I don't know if I'm committed to this from a physical fitness standpoint, just wake up and go to the gym. Don't even lift any weight. So it's not it's not a shot fired at someone, but just noticing like you gotta actually lift the weight. You gotta become someone you've never been in order to do something you've never done. And that's kind of where it started.
This is now I'll throw it to you for that question segue. The way that I have described what we've had to undergo, what you clearly have, the way that some people come out of a Hillsong situation is often like an athlete that tears his ACL. And he sits there and he's like, my ACL torn to shreds. You got a couple options: reconstruction, which has rehab, and you've got to get a new tendon, or you can just do nothing. And if you lay down long enough, you can play again. You will just be horrible. And you'll get mad at everybody else for asking you to run faster, and you still think that somehow this is going to make sense. And rather than go to the doctor, go under the knife and get cutting, there's a lot of people that will leave a situation, and especially in marriage, it happens all the time, where you'll go through something, they don't do the actual work. I'll do what I need to do to make it look like there's been some progress, but I'm changing who I am, I'm not going to do that. If you leave a situation like the Hillsong saga and don't do a complete rewiring, you will end up doing the same things you did, but probably worse, probably more damaging, and it will suck the joy out of the opportunity, which is to grow, which we'll get into. But that, to me, is the difference between life or death. Like, what are you going to do? Like, what are you going to do with this injury?
Yeah, absolutely. And like from a fitness or a health standpoint, or tearing a ligament or whatever, like absolutely go to a doctor and get it fixed. But when it comes to my personal life, it's what of my it really comes down to, am I open or willing, or am I going to allow if I believe of who God is to work in and through me, no matter how painful that is, like to go through that process, that progress. And so it's like, because when you keep running on the thing and you keep doing the thing, you're just tolerating it. Like there is a way to do that, and you'd probably be able to go out there and keep playing and whatever. But like eventually, what I'm hearing you say is it's going to catch up to you, and it's going to create some wake of sort of impact. You not showing up in the way. So it's like it's like giving yourself permission to grow. Like I think facing that stuff. But like you have to allow it. You have to be brave, and you have to go for it, for sure.
You can relate to this. Like, who did you have to become to be able to survive?
I don't know.
Yeah.
It was like, because we were talking earlier today that I could have stayed bitter. I could have stayed angry, grieving, all of those things. And I had to go through that process of letting myself be some of those things for a while. But then I also was like, I don't want to stay here. I'm not going to be bitter. I don't want my heart to get hard. I don't want my, the pain and the anger to stay there. So I had to do some of that process to be free of that. And it is exhausting, it is hard, but it's like so beautiful as well when you can be on the other side. So having these conversations with Andrew, like going, man, it's so cool to be with someone who's also done the same work of being like, I can see some of these people and they're still kind of in the same place.
Yeah.
But it's like, gosh, if you only knew that you could be free of so many things on the other side of that. Yes, it's painful and life sucks, but it's so beautiful on the other side.
And it takes more work
to
do the other side of the tracks. It takes so much more work to be bitter, to be whatever. And my thing with you, why I love you so much and why I give you, credit on a supernatural level, like I had to learn, this is great for when we talk about healing as a couple. I don't think you can heal as a couple. I think you have to heal individually. And I know this because there was a time where I kept trying to use my ownership to expedite your growth. I was telling Andrew yesterday, meaning like I was using my own revelation, which is I put us in this situation. I did this. So A, B, and C. And there came a day where I got some really good help on that where, someone I love just said, you can't do that to Laura because she's actually correct. Like my reason for how I'm going to respond to this isn't the same as yours. You didn't do anything wrong. People did abandon you. They were terrible. People did do things that we just are unfathomable and you didn't deserve that. For me, it's like, even if someone lied or did something wrong to me, well, at the end of the day, I started this party. So I got to deal with the dance. I got to deal with the song. And I was trying to get you in on that. And then thankfully, you were able to make your own switch and start to do your own work. And then you've got two people on a healing journey. That couple is cooking. But normally there's this thing where somebody has healed, somebody hasn't. Yeah. And you can't figure out why 10, 12 years later, there's still this rift. It's because somebody wasn't working. Right. And to your credit, there have been times where you have outpaced my work. And that's a fun place to be as a couple, where it's like you get to challenge each other with who we were laughing about. Like a new level of friendship is when you're over owning stuff. It's like, no, I could have done better. No. You relax. I could have done better. Yeah. That's a refreshing way to live.
Yeah, it's my fault. Yeah. I like what's interesting is like if you think of it through like one of the ways is like just because I lift the weight doesn't mean you grow.
Yes.
Right? Or like if two people go to the gym and one person lifts doesn't mean the other person gets the results.
Right.
You can't secondhand smoke this growth and it work. It's like you got to lift it for yourself. You got to do it for yourself. So yeah, when you have that conversation with people, it's not like a judgment on them. It's just like typically they're trying to have a conversation that's up here, and that's just not the convo. Right. It's like, and it's not my job to change you, and I can't fix you, and I want to stay away from having a judgment because having judgments isn't how you get in your own way. Yeah. It's okay to have a judgment. It's okay to, when we walk into a restaurant, we've got a judgment. When someone wears an outfit, I got a judgment. It's not how you get in your own way. It's believing your judgments are right is how you get in your own way.
It's beautiful.
And so by giving yourself permission to kind of, hey, I'm going to focus on me, I'm going to lift the weight. But what I find myself bumping into is when people reach out and they want to talk and they want to have this conversation of, hey, how do you do that? And it's like, well, let's first draw back and ask ourselves some other questions. Who are you willing to become, or who are you open to become in order to do that?
The words church hurt are real.
Yeah.
Buzzword, real word, deflection mechanism. All of it's represented in this word. And I think my heart goes out to the real side of it, because it is a real thing. When people are like, there's a world where you could spin it and say, we don't do that with anything else. Like no one else is like, gym hurt, never again. Yeah. Restaurant hurt, never again. Yeah. Like, but with church, it's like something bad happened here. So because of that, and then there's this, I have obviously a huge heart for people who have legitimately walked through that. And they're sitting in the middle of that still. It's very real and understandable to be disillusioned, to be hurt, to be confused. What people fail to realize is there is a moment where you can take church hurt and turn it into church help. Where the very thing that you are using as a reason for why you can't grow, why you can't change, why you can't reconnect, what if you spun it and you use that very same thing to become something that makes you, infinitely better because of what you went through. And that's what I see in your life. And we used this word picture the other day. It's like, if I was a boat on the water in the landscape in your life, you see my boat go down, and your tendency as a human is to go for the next boat that makes the most sense.
Right. That pastor, that leader. Yeah.
Right. This boat went down. Let me immediately go over to this boat. And was that tempting for you? Because so we go down, we're a big part of your spiritual life. Like pastors for a long time in your world. We rolled together. We knew you. We were deeply intertwined. Yeah. Our life blows up. You're looking at the landscape. And what was that a temptation for you to put all your eggs back in a new basket with the same type of like, it's the same human basket.
Yeah.
But what was that like? I'm curious.
Yeah, it's like just the human response, like survival to like when all this stuff came out with you guys, it was like a WTF moment. Like I don't know what to do, and I think the human default response for me was like, well, who are the churches or pastors that I can kind of grab onto, or their boat metaphorically can I get on to be okay and to be safe? Yeah. Failing to realize that on that other person's boat or in that other person's church or underneath that person's leadership, it's also human. And so it's when you make that distinction between church hurt or church help, it like actually none of these boats are really going to ever fulfill or be something that's going to keep me afloat for the rest of my life. I cannot build my life on these boats, or the scripture would say on this sand. And it's not to say they're not great humans doing awesome things and amazing organizations up to really great impact. It's just to say that I can't build my life on it and expect for it to stand after another hurricane hits. Nor is it to say that this is going to be the only freaking hurricane that's ever going to hit my freaking shore. So it's like I got onto that boat, the other boats, another leader, another pastor, and was like, this is not going to be enough.
This ain't going to heal me. Yeah. It's not going to fulfill me. It won't make me safe. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it was really important for me to be honest and I don't want to brush over the pain of that and the hurt in that and the confusion and my desire to understand, and I really wanted to know why, and it's agony. And so if I was sitting here talking to anyone that's going through church hurt and it's real and it's that pastor did that or they made these choices or this happened to me, it's like it really is like it's painful. Mm-hmm. It freaking hurt. Yeah, sitting in that that space, and so it's real. I don't want to dismiss it. But I knew that swimming to a different boat wasn't going to save my life.
Yeah, which is what people do, and I'm with you. It's I think when you look at church hurt as a topic, it's if you stay in the hurt, it's painful. If you switch over to make it help, it becomes powerful. And it's a really easy switch. So if someone's dealing with this, typically we'll walk it out like this. Church hurt. The pastor I love lied, betrayed me, and now I don't know what to do. So that's an option. Now I feel shaky, I feel unsettled, I feel unsure, and now I will never trust another pastor again, ever. Cool. Yeah. That's a choice. People make it all the time, and they'll make TikToks about it, which makes it right. If you can get a theory out, you can put that thing on TikTok, you know what you're talking about. And that's an option, and I understand that option. I have been tempted with that option myself. Mm-hmm. And then there's option here to the right, church help. The pastor I love and trusted lied, betrayed, broke my trust. I have an opportunity to realize where my hope is, where my trust is, where my real faith is. And because I went through that, I will now never put my faith in humanity. Mm-hmm. And it's cleared up my vision to understand that I'm a Christian, not a churcher. Mm-hmm. I am very clear where my faith is. Now, when I reconnect with the community, I'm going to do it with these new tools and this new expansive experience that enables me to know, yep, I'm trusting another pastor, and I'm fully aware that my faith is not in this person. This is the same situation. And that opportunity is there for everybody. And I know that the temptation to let the hurt be the narrator is real for everybody. We've dealt with it. You've had a road of that as well. Even us just moving forward to any sort of church community, it's the same thing. Like church hurt, no matter what level it hits you, You know, it's real.
That impact was like, being on that metaphorical boat, it going down, swimming to a different boat. This isn't going to float or save me. Then that poses the question, like, well, what do I do? Like, where do I go?
Where do I go? Yeah.
Who do I talk to? Like, what needs to happen? And that was the start of my healing tour of sorts.
The healing tour is such a great theme because I always, when people say, you know, I'm healed, I always go, where did that happen? Where's that destination? Because I don't think it works like that. I think we're always on a healing tour, and including what people have to understand about you as you sit here. There's no pushing away of what happened. Part of healthy healing, part of healthy confrontation is you were able to share a lot of your pain clearly. That's the difference between health and dysfunction, is you brought it like with a power.
Yeah.
And I was also able to speak to own what I felt like I needed to own, apologize where I needed to own, and even share some of my own hurt. And so the notion that us being friends again means bygones are bygones, not at all.
No. Right.
Bygones are bridges, period. That's what we chose to make them. But there's no like, okay, well, you did what you did, and I say what I said, and no, it takes work. But that's the power of real healing. It's like, why would I not bring this out? Why would I pretend to reconnect with you? Who has time for that? Yeah. Who has time for a shallow dinner?
Right.
When you didn't say anything you really felt.
Yeah.
So I want to be clear that when you do, you know, handle some darkness from the past and you want to bring it out into the light, it's hard, so much better. Yeah. But you didn't mince any words when we've talked. You haven't spared any expense when it comes to expressing clearly the impact my actions had on you. And because we're both on our own healing tours, it wasn't a conversation breaker. Yeah. That's how you know someone isn't healthy, when you're able to express how you feel and it's a deal breaker.
Right.
It's like, you know, I asked you how you felt. I asked you, can you explain to me the impact that fall or this whole thing had on you and your family? And I got to be prepared to hear it.
Yeah.
Without then snapping back, which is my old custom. Yeah. You know, I hated being.
You love that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, but to allow someone to speak without necessarily having a response, you know, that you can dictate. That's a new day.
Yeah, it's there is a winning strategy at play why people would just move on, like why people wouldn't become someone new, why they wouldn't lift the weight, why they would dismiss and say like it's fine, or all of that is serving you, and it works. Yeah. And it's there's a reason why we do it. Yeah. So that was a huge learning for me. Was like it's not ineffective. Like it is.
But everybody does it.
Yeah, like fear is also a motivator. Love is the undisputed champion of the world, but fear also works. Yeah. So it's like it's fine, it's all good. Like there's a strategy where essentially I get, as long as that story is true, and I get to keep you in that space, then I get to avoid lifting the weight and becoming someone I've never been. So it is a strategy to avoid or to stay as a victim in that. But yeah, I think it's it's paramount that you slow down and you start to ask those questions, because when we sit here today, we have had those conversations and we have had that space and time to be able to express where that impact actually affected me. And when we're both on that journey and that tour, that's a different conversation. Yeah. But I think where I've bumped into sometimes with combos with people is like, if they want to have that conversation and they think they're ready for it, but they're not at times. Yeah. And hey man, like it's all good. Like, again, it's not a judgment, but it is like my heart breaks because I really would love to see them grow and become, through the pain of transformation, to be able to see them heal and to be restored. So my heart breaks for people that have experienced church hurt or been offended, or their pastor made choices that were that impacted their life. It's not over yet. Like there's a whole beautiful, amazing adventure that awaits you, and the work is like, that's where it's at. Like that's the funnest, most like the deepest fulfillment of your life is in the growth, progress, and challenge. It's not in the comfort.
You can ask your question, babe, because you have rejected a ticket to Victimville. Yeah. And that train is hot. It is. Our culture loves it. I mean, if you can get a seat on the victim train,
Yeah.
it's great. You got to keep that thing.
Well, man, I rode that train though.
Same.
I was like, that's fine. I didn't reject the ticket like a hero being like, nah, I'm good. I rode the train and realized this train ain't going to where I want to go.
Right.
And that's the honest reality is that train is fun, by the way.
Yeah.
That train is comfortable. See, being a victim gets you the sympathy you want. It just doesn't get you the life you want. And so when you start to go on that train, this is a party, bro. This is the sickest train ever. I get a blame shift. It's your fault, and it's your fault, and it's Hillsong's fault, and it's the pastor. Like, that's amazing. And then what I do is I build camp, and I get all of my homies in to justify
S'mores.
Oh, man, we've got the top, bottom,
Marlboro
graham
Light,
crackers.
maybe Ultra Light.
Damn, like it is the best thing ever.
Yeah.
Like
We've been wrong.
Oh, it's amazing. Yeah. And there is a time for that.
Sure.
That victim train, like when I first went to therapy, there's power in therapy. That shouldn't have happened to you.
Yeah.
That's not okay.
Right.
Yeah.
That sucks.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. And I think that is a huge part of people's open opportunity for them to go and get that help and to sit on a couch or to sit for 6 days straight where I went at onsite and it was like, man, I was swinging bats and breaking shit out there, man.
Same.
Like,
Wasn't it so good?
And
I love that exercise.
Like, they sat there and they're the victim.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And you know what was crazy is the last thing my therapist did at onsite was presented a book to me by Shel Silverstein called The Missing Piece Meets the Big O. And the book was powerful because it's a story, it's a children's book that I read to my kids now, but it's a story of this missing piece always looking for someone else to complete them and to fill where they can fit in. So the victim, the conversation we're having is the victim gets the sympathy he wants or she wants, and it's really beautiful. And I sat there and I was hugged and I was heard and I was empathized with and I was able to express the emotions and give like, man, I'm just going to let this go, and I need to be in a place where I can I remember doing like a labyrinth walk and having that really cool moment, right? And you just you let it go.
Yeah.
And I remember your name was I wrote a letter to you in this moment, and I did this walk, and that represented all the hurt. The way it works, like if you do a labyrinth, it's like you walk all the way in this pattern, and you're frustrated, you're pissed off, you're letting all those emotions go, and at the middle of it, you drop this. It's kind of like when we were kids and you light all your Blink-182 CDs on fire.
Same like music.
Yeah.
The
10 years later, you're like, where are those things at? Like you faster had it wrong. But I let it go. And then on the way out of the labyrinth, you actually, you shift your mindset and you breathe in. But when I left on site, it was, it was like, what are you going to do about it kind of?
There. So I think it's a beautiful place to talk about what happened to you. And then that's the valley. So I did the same thing. I was able to go to some of these same places and I was able to sit there and go, I've actually, some stuff did happen to me. Wait a second. Because there's a place of recovery where you're over owning things. And that doesn't do you any favors either. Right. People have to stop you and say, actually, no, that wasn't okay.
Yeah.
And you get to this place where you're sitting there and you realize, what's the next part of this story? Most people stop there. This, and this happened to me.
Yeah.
And they wake up tomorrow, and that's going to be the end of their story again.
Yeah.
Well, at the end of the day, this happened to me.
Yeah.
What do you want to do about it?
Yeah.
Right.
I was asked that. You've been asked
Yeah.
We asked, so what do you want to do about it? So I had a boss, and he fired me, and it wasn't right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Facts.
Fair.
Yeah.
What do you want to do about it? What do you mean what I want to do about it? He fired me.
Yeah.
He did fire you.
Yeah.
What would you like to do about that? It wasn't fair.
Right. Correct.
I wish I knew a new language to use the word fair in a different language. We acknowledge it's not fair. Would you like to move forward?
Yeah.
That right there angers people.
Yeah.
I've been there too because it's been like I didn't have a seat on the victim train. I had my own compartment with a blow-up mattress,
right,
and a little grill. Yeah. Because I wasn't like all the other victims.
Yeah.
Didn't realize I was attached to the victim train. And there comes a moment where you have to realize this is not going to serve me because we love to make villains.
our culture loves a villain, because if there's a villain, there's a victim. And you'll have people push you into a position where they're almost trying to get you to create a villain in the story. And to make it relative, for me, in the situation you're in, it'd be me and Brian, my pastor, my leader, my hero. Yeah. And there was a distinct moment where I was challenged by someone unaffiliated to go, but what else? And it's like, you start loosening the grip of this hold, and you start looking at things through a healthy lens, and you realize, like, Brian Houston's not the villain of my story. Hillsong Church isn't the villain of my story. You know, the villain of my story? It's me. Because if it's me, that also means the hero of this story. There's something inside me that I can switch this.
Right.
But if Brian's the villain, I'm the victim, I miss out on this entire chapter of life because Brian wasn't the problem. Does it mean there weren't things that hurt me deeply? No. Does it mean there's not accountability to be taken? Of course there is. But my response to it, if he's the villain, which I know there's still some people who would even in this context me, Carl's the villain, Hillsong Church is the villain. Yeah. Okay, cool. You're entitled to feel like that. What are you going to do with that?
Yeah.
If we're the villain, that means you had no role, you had no agency, you had no power, you had no nothing. And there is a current of culture that will want you to believe that. You and I subscribe to a different set of rules.
So how did you go from being in that victim train and like sitting in that room coaching, you know, trying to get through that moment? Like, how did you go from that to like, this is who I want to be?
Yeah, I would like to say from the jump, like when all of this went down and I swam to the other boats metaphorically, and then I was like, this isn't going to work. I got to figure it out. My brother invited me to this really special place called Refuge with Brian Carpenter in Montana. And it was the beginning of what I would call my healing tour. And I sat there, and it was just this moment of opportunity for me to release and to be and to just kind of sit and to hang. And Brian's response to me, it just kind of was like he was there for me. He held that space, and it was really powerful, which led me to being introduced to somebody that he put me in touch with that was able to help me get to on-site, which created this whole healing tour. And then I was able to go spend time with my wife down in San Diego with Bob Goff, and that whole beautiful experience too. And so there was like this whole tour, and then it got to the point where it was like, so what do you want to do about it? And like I still didn't know how to move forward. And that's when I went to Awaken, and I was standing in that room with Nathan Neighbor, and Nathan asked me the question, so what part did you play in that? And so what would you like to do about it? And that was a process, because as a victim, I'm not ready yet. Like, you can't push a rope, right? You can't get me to do, like, I'm still on this train. It's still Carl and Laura's fault. It's still Brian's fault. It's still, right? So it hit that point where it was like, I don't know, man. I just got, like, in that coaching space, I just got, like, I've never even remotely considered a different angle, bro. I was like, this is Righteous Mountain. I'm right. And I am on this. Yeah. And everyone else. And that's the trap. And it was in that moment where it was like, I think the analogy was like when you go to a retail store with your wife, right? And she's throwing clothes over the dressing room and asking you to try it on. And that's not your vibe, that's not your style, but she's just goes, just try it on. You don't have to buy it, leave the store with it. You don't have to own it, but just try it on. Yeah. That was like, hey, what would it look like for you to try on something new?
That's beautiful.
You know, and just the openness. Yeah. Because fixed mindset and like I'm right is like a closed fist. Yeah. Yeah. Like this is everyone else's fault, and what you use that fist for is up to you. But open-handed and open-minded, that I might have a part to play in this. That was the beginning of it.
I love that tool to be able to say, just like if someone's like, bad things always happen to me. Fair. I'm sure you have a mountain of evidence. Like, let's just pretend for a second that only good things happen to you and that better things are coming your way. Just for 5 minutes, just live there for a second. People are always like, well, yeah. And then they come back to their clothes. And it's like, that's for sale, by the way. Like bad things always happen to me. It never works out. Cool. Okay. What if you tried on that you're going to learn from everything that's happened to you and it's going to make you better and the best chapter of your life's in front of you? Well, that's not true. It's just as true as the crappy cashmere. It's like, Carl, no one wears cashmere. The shirt you have on is just as real. And then after a while, you're like, you know what? And you don't know what you, like one of Novus's greatest revelatory things that they preach is that the biggest leader struggle in the world is that you can't see yourself for who you are. You can't see what you're capable of. You can't see what your team is capable of. Like we don't see what we might be able to do. So it's like, Lord, to say, hey, you might want to step out of those skinny jeans. Why? They're always cool.
Yeah.
Not saying they're not cool.
Yeah.
Maybe get a little bit of air. Maybe get a little bit of flowy pants. And it's like, well, I'll try them on. And then you're like, well, these actually feel pretty good. And then slowly but surely you fade out your, 1997 skinny jeans that are glued to your body. And you're like, I actually I have 2 pairs of pants now.
Yeah.
You can always go back to victim.
Yeah.
But my submission is that once you take off the role of the victim and you put on the role of somebody who's in control, who's filled with new ownership, life gets a lot different, a lot better.
Man, I feel like there's a combo that's like still waiting. No, I'm like,
it churns like that. What's that thought? What's the combo that is burgeoning that you're realizing during this combo?
Yeah.
What happens if someone doesn't get the bigness of all this? Because that seems like it occurs to me that that's at the core of the contention right now. So what are you afraid might happen if the bigness isn't grasped?
Yeah, the fear is that I'm going to come onto a podcast with you and, all of a sudden, like, everything's good and it's all cool. Like, they're back friends again or whatever, and that people miss like the pain of transformation and the work that had to go in my own life for me to even be in your space again. Like that was huge. That this was a 5-year road of like, and so this is where it goes is when all of when all of the hurt happened, the pain and the frustration and the complaints, it all produced in me a picture of the future that like that's like I think it like the picture of the future, what we would say is like the picture of the future that incites passion within us. Like the thing that we would hope would happen, that's there. This moment was there. This moment was like that we would be able to talk again, that we would be able to be friends. Because there's a grief to reinventing your life. Yeah. That like I was grieving letting go of people I was close to and friends with and living with and knew their kids and the family and the teams that we were with. And so church hurt is like, it's shitty, it's painful, and there's a grief to that. What I would hope is not lost in this conversation is that when people are going through church hurt, it hurts, and there is choice, and it's okay for you to sit in that hurt, but you can only sit in a swamp for so long until you get sick, and so then that's fine, and it's okay, and there's no judgment, but it's not over. That there's an outlet that you can kind of carve out, and that when the river runs through it, like the water becomes clean again, and you can have those conversations. And so really it's like I sat in that pain and in that hurt, and the opposite side of that grief is like a longing. I want reconciliation. I want I miss my friend. I miss the teams. I miss the people. Like I still laugh today about the moments we had in New York. And so what the shitty thing that people don't tell you when church hurt happens is it's like a tsunami of sorts that wipes out everything. And your friendships and your relationships and and you tell yourself the story that it's all a wash. Right. And it's done and you're over it. And then what I do is I'm just going to go create another thing to cover up and to callous and to cope with this pain. And what I'm saying is, wait, hold on, like experience the pain, experience the hurt, feel it, be okay with the sadness and the hurt and the pain and the frustration, because it's real. The nights I spent crying and weeping and agony and trauma and like grief, like far out, like that's real, like and anger and frustration, and you can build on that, but it might not serve your future. And that was the thing, is like, I was just recently at my house in Boise, and I told you this earlier, but this arborist came over and was talking to me about this land. And he said to you, hey, you got those weeds over there, and those weeds, when they get to seeds, they produce, when they produce seeds, the seeds fall and they're in the soil for 20 years. Wow. And I'm sitting there with my wife going, 20 years? He's like, yeah, you can mow it and you can grade it, but they're deep. You can go 3 to 4 inches deep and those seeds are still there for 20 years. Yeah. And it dawned on me in that moment that what my story was not mowing it and rebuilding on top of it, or doing new landscape and look at me, I'm freaking doing this new thing. It was excavating it. It was getting underneath and digging the entirety of it out, because I don't want those seeds that were in me to produce, again, weeds in my life that move forward in the next 20, 30 years of my life. So the story here is actually like, it hurts. That's real. I'm sorry. And now what do you want to do about it? Well, I don't want these weeds to keep, and that's the question the arborist asked me. So what do you want to do about it? And I was like, F you. But I bought this land and this was already on there, and Hillsong happened way before I even joined in, and I chose to buy this land. And so there's the ownership conversation too, as the owner of the house. Like, so what do you want to do about it? Yeah. And it was like, I want to freaking just act like it's not there, to be honest, and I want to build on it. So there is hope, and that hurt can actually be the very thing that was meant to happen, like the very thing that happened to you. What if it happened for you? And that's the conversation. Is I'm not dismissing that was right or wrong, or that didn't hurt, but like this happened to me in some degree, but at the same time, what if I flipped it and this happened for me? And then I try that on. That's the new thing I try on. Okay, well, if that is true, it happened for me, how might that be true? And then it goes down a pathway of like, well, it's going to help me grow. Like bodybuilders view weight to build the body with. I view this to build the self with. Yeah. And that becomes the weight on the bar that as I lift it, I begin to grow and become someone I've never been. And that's the work. And so anyone listening to this podcast going like, I can resonate with church hurt, like whatever you've gone through, I'm sorry, that sucks. And I've gone through a lot with church hurt, but like that's not the end of the story. Yeah. Your life still has purpose. There's still a God call. There's still a future and a hope and a life. So if you can get into the mix and into the soil and to dig it up, like there's new life to come.
There's just no way to explain the real work. And that frustration I relate to, because I had to let that go for me, because people, you guys are doing so well. And it's like, kinda. Oh yeah. Kinda. But this hasn't been easy. It's not, and to be on the other side of hearing some of the things that people say, even if it's their legit feelings, what comes up in me is still stuff where I feel like I got responses for. It doesn't go away. And I think that's the beauty of what we're pointing to, is like, there's not like, we didn't just arrive at this table of friendship. This isn't that. This is a table of intentional growth. If it leads to that, cool. But there is a moment where it's like, you have to make a decision, like what kind of person do I want to be? What's that going to take? I mean, to think about all the full circle moments where, like, I think it would be in a textbook somewhere where someone would challenge you in therapy. Like, imagine if the person that hurt you the most, you were able to help them. It's like, well, that happened. That's happening. Yeah. And that has to be said. So it's like, at the end of the day, it wasn't the goal of yours, but you want to talk about standing on top of something. If I represent the impetus for some of the hurt and pain, whether I feel like that's valid or not, because I got my own feelings about all that. When people share all their feelings, I just have my own little internal notebook where I'm like, well, I don't know. Yeah. And that's my right. But regardless of that, if I represent that in the situation, well, it's pretty special to get to a place where you've impacted the person that caused some of the hurt in a way that's forced them to grow. That's what you've done. That's your work. There is not enough time to talk about the work that's gone into being in a place where you can look at someone with that much history, that type of history, and not absolve. Like, we're not priests. We don't absolve people. God and God alone can absolve. We can absorb and we can respond. And you've done that in a way where it's forced me in great ways to really step up. And I think that's the beauty of what your life represents to me. And you're a worthy follow. You're a worthy piece for people to listen to. And I just love watching your life. And there isn't enough time to talk about what it takes to be able to have the courage to have the combos that you've had with me.
Yeah.
And again, I think I know a little bit of that swing of like wondering if people are gonna. That's a real fear that you've had to manage. Like, what is it gonna mean to people to see me sitting with you? And I'm like, hey, bro, you got to handle that on your own time. I can't relate. I know what I think it means, but that person that comes to your mind, whatever they think about what this means, they're not going to know because they can't get on the inside engine room and know. But it's worth it. I'm grateful for you to take this chance to at least be able to point to people that what's the stronghold in their life? Who represents the hurt?
Yeah.
Can you imagine getting to a place where your health overwhelms that person so much they have to look in the mirror? You didn't do that through shame. You didn't do that through subtweets. You didn't do that through anonymous blogs. That's a courageous move.
Yeah.
You did it through standing on your own health, looking me dead in my eyes, and speaking what's true to you. And it was enough, because health is always enough. Truth is always enough to get people to respond. You can't control how I was going to respond to what you said to me.
Yeah. Yeah, and it wasn't about you for me.
Right.
It was for me.
That's
and
the key.
Yeah, it's like whether or not we are going to be friends again, whether or not we are going to hang out again, whether we are going to be in this space again, wasn't necessarily the goal. The goal was that I would become someone I've never been. And the story is not a Carl story to me, or a Laura story to me, or a Hillsong story, or a Novus Global story.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of amazing stuff in there and whatever to have conversations around. The story is about who God is and how He can redeem and restore and renew and rebuild things that were broken and hurtful.
Yeah.
And there's two parts to that. There's the He's willing and able to do exceeding, like the Ephesians 2:20, but there's also the willingness on our end to be able to
Through you.
yeah
Be into that. It's through you. I think that's the moneymaker right there. Whoever holds the power in the situation, it's typically the one that you don't want to hold the power. So by you standing on your own power, I'm not the most dominant voice in your life. You are. God's voice is.
yeah
And when people see it from that angle, because I got hit with that 2x4 in therapy, where like, that guy who you talk about, he owns most of your mental real estate.
yeah
So it's like, not only was that hurtful and it was wrong and I was victimized, I'm still living there. This person still has that much weight. That was a weird motivator for me to go, oh my gosh, I refuse. And then all of a sudden, this person that represents this Hillsong church, for some people it might be, or the mega church, that holds a lot of real estate in your life. What if that wasn't the case? What if you held the real estate? You define that thing. That's where power comes. That's what it's like for you. It's almost, in a weird way, it's almost you little bullying me. Well, in the bed. Let me finish my thought. It's almost like this isn't about you. I'm doing this. This is on my terms. I'm in control. I'm healthy. I'm healed. Because I'm getting healthy, because I'm healing, I can now do this. That's a lot different than you're a piece of shit.
yeah
You did a lot.
yeah
What are you dodging from?
Yeah, there was a moment where I told you on that phone call, the words and language I used was, I'm officially resigning from being that person in your life. And that was an agency moment. That's the power of choice. That's my ownership of all of what I have experienced. And now I'm going to go create a life in health. And so my choice to have a relationship or to be on this podcast is not, it's not because I have to. It's not because I feel I need to or I'm forced to. It's because I have, and it's like a self-acknowledgement that I have lifted the weight and become who I've never been before, so that I can sit at this table and have a conversation and not even remotely get to any or all of the things that I believe we could talk about, but just like, even just being here at this table is like, okay, like that's it. That is it. And whatever's said on this is like, it's not even that.
It's gravy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm grateful for you. I acknowledge the work and the bravery and the courage, and I love watching your life. It inspires us, and we're grateful to have you in our world in any space, and in a non-patronizing way. I'm so proud to watch you cut new paths with joy and with your trademark radiance, which never left you, and it's powerful. So thank you for being you.
I love watching both of you talk because you're both trained in the same, world of Novus and all of that, the coaching space. But it's crazy to be a witness to seeing two healthy people have really honest conversations, and that could be really hurtful or, awkward, but it's cool to see how you guys can communicate with each other in a really healthy but strong way.
It helps because he knows he was wrong.
Yeah.
It's like that guy. And that's all. No, it's true. It's true. I every time I get to talk to you on the phone, I told him the other day, I said, I have to really check myself before I call you, because I got to make sure I don't say anything I want to be held accountable for.
Right.
Great trademark as a friend. Hey, what a great thing to have said about you, that you're so consistent and so sharp and so true to your game that it makes everybody around them go, I gotta change my outfit, put my show up in that room. So cheers to that.
Yeah.
Cheers to you. Anything you want to say on the way out of here? I know people can find you. You're on Instagram. You're doing a lot of stuff that matters, and thank you for doing this.
Yeah. I would like to say, if you want to know more about the work that I've done, I'm open to conversations. If you want to know more about Novus, there's an episode that Jason did with you prior that you can go listen to, and that you can check out the website and do all that.
I'll say this: anybody watching this that resonates with this moment, you look at Andrew and you go, well, he's been through a lot, and he looks like that, he talks like that, he lives like that. I don't know your capacity. I don't want to put you on Front Street with that, but I know that they can email you, contact you, and if you're able, you'll create space, however you feel led. But I know that's a passion of yours. And so I would encourage anybody who's hearing this and you're going like, all right, if there is a path, I want to know about it. I would point people to you before anybody when it comes to how to actually do it. And you're really, really proficient at this. I think God's graced you to do it. So
Thank you.
They can find all your stuff at carllentz.com. Yep. And
Doesn't exist.
what's your handle on IG?
Yeah, it's Andrew W. Simila.
Oh, Andrew W. Simila. Okay. I love you. Thank you.
Yeah.